Howdy heckin' hello H2 homies, roller balonies, and C Campbells alike. I'm your guide, Q. Big shout out to C Campbell for suggesting H2 homies. Let me know how you feel about that. But I looked up bad date, and I found this picture. Welcome to r/datinghell. But this woman is out on a date with Cactus Man, and she's cut her lip trying to kiss him or something like that. He has a ring out on the table, suggesting that he has proposed to her. Don't you think she would have learned, like, kissing strategy with Cactus Man at this point? I don't know why this picture exists, but I'm fascinated by it. But let's just get into the stories for now. Alright, so just for the record, I am going to be excluding all of the titles from these stories just for spoiler purposes, but I will leave all of them in the description down below, a link to the actual Reddit post. I had matched with this man on Tinder. Let's call him John. John was 16 years older than me, and for a week after we matched, he kept asking to go out with me. Eventually, I agreed. He was an interesting man. He could speak several different languages, and he was an English teacher in the Middle East for years before coming home. The first date was amazing. He paid for my meal and my movie ticket, and we spent hours together just talking and laughing. The second and third date were great too. It was filled with amazing and deep conversations. He told me about his life in the Middle East and how he had an ex-girlfriend there. John brought her up many times, but he always referred to her as his ex. But beside that, he was someone that I could see myself being exclusive with. We went about 2 weeks without seeing each other, but we still texted. Eventually I had a free day, so we decided to go get some coffee and catch up. I arrived at the coffee shop before him. I texted him, "Let me know when you're here," and 5 minutes later he sent, "I'm here." I got out of my car and told him where I was standing, literally right by the door. 5 minutes goes by and he still hadn't shown up. That turned into 10 minutes. I tried texting him, but he didn't respond. After 15 minutes of me awkwardly standing there, I heard a voice behind me. "Hey, Genyi, you're part deaf, right?" I turned around and looked at John. He was standing there with a coffee in his hand. I went, "Huh? Aren't you deaf, or partially deaf in one ear?" I just blinked at him. "No." "Oh, sorry, I thought you were." I looked at his coffee. "You ordered already?" "Yeah, I was going to come out here earlier, but I saw a friend outside and we were talking. I could see you through the window." I was kind of pissed at that. I'd been asking where he was, and it wouldn't have been so difficult for him to say, "Come inside." We then went inside and found a seat. I got in line to order and he offered to pay for me. I refused, but now I wish I'd let him. After I got my drink, I sat at our table. We had a little bit of small talk, went over how we were, I told him about my schooling, and he told me he was exactly the same as before. We were both quiet for a moment. I just played with my cup when I hear him say, in the most casual way, "So, I might be getting married soon." I immediately stopped fidgeting and looked up at him. I must have done an awful job at hiding my shock, and he went, "Well, not to you, obviously." I just stared at him. "Yeah, obviously. I know that we aren't getting married." I thought for a moment. "Is it your ex from the Middle East?" He said, "Yeah, it's her. We already have most of the paperwork done for her to get over here, and all I have to do is prove that I've seen her in the last 2 years." I should have gotten up and left, but I decided to keep the date going. Now's a good time to mention that he was texting the entire time we were together. We went back to talking, and I don't remember how we got onto the topic, but I was telling him about a pregnancy scare I had. Without missing a beat, he went, "I can get you pregnant if you want." Surprisingly enough, this wasn't the first time he had told me this, but before it always felt like a joke. This time, though, he was being completely serious. I went, "Why don't you get your wife pregnant?" And he went, "Yeah, I could do that too." Then his phone started ringing. He went 1 second and picked it up. At first, I thought he was just on the phone, but then it became clear that he was video chatting with a different girl. After he was done, he told me, I told her I was going to call her back in 15 minutes. 15 minutes? I wasn't aware that we were going to be done in that time. Before we went our separate ways outside, he gave me a hug. About 30 minutes later, he tried to call me. I declined his call. Worst date I have ever been on. What an absolute scumbag. I mean, one, he's leading this girl on that he's going on dates with. Two, he's screwing over his soon-to-be wife because he's going on dates with this girl. Dates that she said were going well in a capacity that she thought was going to lead to a romantic relationship. So who knows how serious it was getting. Honestly, though, I don't understand why she was like, I wasn't aware that we were going to be done in 15 minutes. I would have been heading out that door immediately, maybe trying to, like, get on the video chat with the girl and be like, "Hey, this guy's been going on dates with me, you should run for the hills while you can." Alright, next story. So my first date in high school was with a guy I barely knew, but I was in a really desperate state of wanting a boyfriend. Anyways, he picks me up late, and we don't have that much in common, so there isn't really much to talk about. We don't have the same sense of humor, and small talk exhausts itself very quickly. We go to see a movie, which would have been perfect considering as soon as we got to the movie theater, I wanted to go home. Well, we're sitting in the car and I'm waiting to go in, and lo and behold, he pulls out a bong. Classy. He takes 2 rips and we go in and watch the movie, zero talking. Super awkward, and I just really wanted to go home. Movie was good though. We're leaving the movie theater and walking down the hallway, and he just stops and says he doesn't feel well. Next thing I know, he pukes all over the floor. He races over to a garbage can and puked mercilessly for the next couple minutes, and I just stood there silently and awkwardly. He drives me home in complete silence. Never spoke to him again. I guess the overall moral here is that dating girls is a lot better. Okay, I 100% understand that this is a really, really bad date. I mean, obviously you shouldn't be talking in a movie theater. I guess maybe you're talking about not talking before the movie. The one part that I don't understand about this story is moral here is that dating girls is a lot better. I mean, this is a bad date. It doesn't mean that all guys are like this. I mean, you could have totally come to the conclusion in a different way that dating girls is a lot better for you. You just like girls more or something like that. But I don't think this story is a good example of men bad, or like man dates are inferior to girl dates, because it could totally happen with a girl too. You could dig it out of the bong, can't handle your weed, end up puking after the date. I could totally see that happening with any gender. I just don't understand why they threw that in as the moral of the story at the end. But anyway, this was a really bad experience, and I'm glad you found people that you enjoy dating way more than this guy. Next story. Shelly and I made each other's acquaintance after a brief, albeit delightful conversation via Tinder. She mentioned that she did not yet live in the area, but was in town for the weekend looking for a place to hang her hat after a recent promotion. Shelly had long chestnut brown hair sprinkled with amber hues that looked positively radiant, cascading from under her LA Dodgers baseball cap in her profile picture. I was much obliged to introduce her to her new stomping grounds. For Shelly's inaugural nightlife experience in her soon-to-be new city, I chose a hip new bar on the main drag which all the cool kids seemed to be frequenting as of late. I was sipping on an ice-cold lager as a young woman approached me at the bar. "Hello," I said, confused as to why this person was simpering quite creepily in my direction. "I'm Shelly." This was not Shelly, no. Perhaps the Shelly depicted on Tinder could have been this woman roughly 15 years prior with a serious Instagram filter, but even that seemed a far cry from the truth. Despite feeling like I'd been totally catfished, the gentleman in me inquired about her drink of choice, which was water with lemon. Well, at least it'll be a cheap date. After engaging in some tedious conversation about God knows what, Shelly began obsessively grilling me about what I do for a living as a controller for a law firm. The inquiries were coming at me like wildfire. "Do you enjoy your job? Are you happy with your schedule? Do you mind having a boss? Wouldn't you like to be your own boss one day? Are you really happy overall?" "You are really interested in my job," I said, in hopes that she would take the hint to cease this interrogation. "Oh, I just want to see people happy in their jobs and living their best lives." Shelly then retrieved a pamphlet from her tote bag and proceeded to pitch me on what she claimed to be a life-altering product, not only for her health and fitness regime, but for her supplemental income as well. A pyramid scheme. A multi-level marketing pyramid scheme. Shelly tricked me into going on a date so she could pitch me her goddamn pyramid scheme. Being courteous to a fault, as usual, I allowed her to conclude her spiel on how she is now a successful entrepreneur, and how I, too, could become one by simply convincing 5 loved ones to join the physical and mental wellness movement while achieving financial freedom and a superior quality of life overall. While paying my tab, I told her that I would definitely consider her proposition in order to stop this madness. Shelly texted me 6 or 7 times to follow up on joining the pyramid, but she eventually called it quits. Well, this might not be as bad as, you know, say, capitalizing on the death of a loved one to try and recruit someone into a pyramid scheme, which I will link a video in the top right corner where that is the case in a story. This is still pretty damn scummy, and is not going to win you any favor with anyone. If this happened to me, I'd be like, hey, this company is terrible because their recruiters go on Tinder dates with people and then try to sell them on some sort of freaking multi-level marketing opportunity. That's ridiculous. I think if there's one message that I want to leave this video with, it's if you're ever feeling down in the world, like things aren't going well for you, just be happy that you didn't just propose to your girlfriend and then stab her in the mouth with your face. Skate on to the best of your abilities, guys. Make sure you're drinking more water, and I will see you very soon.